episode of More to Tech Solutions, we're doing something a little different. Instead of doing a laptop or a desktop, we're doing a server. So, a server, we're going to do some basics here. So, a server is something that serves, like if you go to get a waiter, same thing. So basically, in this case, this will be used for file and print server functionality. What does that mean, Michael? I don't know what that means. This is getting boring. Alright, well listen here, I'll tell you. So, basically, a printer or files would be stored on this. Attached to or stored on this computer. This is a big computer, basically. A big specialized computer. It's special. So first off, a file storage server would be that all the computers in a business go to this computer. You ever heard of mapping a network drive or connecting to a network drive like a not a C drive or a D drive, but like an A or an X or a Y drive? Have you ever seen that in your organization? And it might be named different things, but basically this is where everything would be stored. And there's a reason we'll get into why they would store these on here. So this will be a little bit of a history lesson, and then we're going to see what we can do with this in the modern day. So basically, also print server would be that a printer is hooked up to this. Instead of having a printer hooked up to each individual workstation, it would be hooked up to this computer, and then all the computers would network through the Wi-Fi or wired internet to this big computer that's called a server, because it is serving the resources to the other computers. So that's what a server is. Next, we'll get into the hardware of what's inside this. So this is a around 22-year-old server. If I'm not mistaken, yes, it's 2003. It's almost as old as me, if not the same age. So basically, but this is a very beautiful, not destroyed or scratched. I mean, you can see it's a very nice machine. I didn't want to throw it away or waste it. So I went to my local thrift store, bought this guy for 35 bucks. You can buy servers at thrift stores. It's kind of crazy. But I like to go there occasionally. I like thrifting, you know, and flea marketing, etc. But basically, what can we do with this in modern day? We're going to get to that. That's why I brought this out today. This monster, I mean, it's bigger than my head. I mean, this is a big, full-size tower size, like full-height desktop computer. And even this is probably on the floor. It's not even a real desktop. But yeah, so it's a Dell PowerEdge 600SC. Basically, that's the model number, and it's a Dell PowerEdge. Instead of like a Dell Latitude or a Dell Inspiron, it's a Dell PowerEdge. These are business-grade servers. These are made to run 24/7. So if you can find a use for it, it's going to be very reliable. Everything in here is all about reliability over pure raw performance. So if we look in here, I'm going to take the side off, and then if we notice back here first off, it's a pretty old server. I mean, big, massive fans for cooling. You notice that? Like that's not this is a normal size fan. This, good zoom there. This is a tiny. This is a big fan compared to a regular size fan. I mean, they have tons of different computer fans. Don't get me wrong, but most desktops don't have a fan this big unless it's like a gaming desktop in modern day. I was looking at mine to see if it made a difference. And you can even lock this. So here's the original Dell keys, which I thought when I saw that I knew this machine was very original, and I appreciate the history of it. So, and it's got thumb screws. It's made to be quickly accessible to be worked on. Okay. So look, and these are captive thumb screws, which means they're held captive and they won't come out. So you see, you can't lose them, but you can still. These side panels are a little difficult sometimes, so bear with me. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta really give it a nice push. So this looks really confusing, I understand, but I'm gonna break down what's in here. So every computer has a RAM, processor, as well as graphics, and other things like that. Your RAM is right here. Your processor's under this little fan. Oh, and hard drives and other drives, like floppy drive. This one even has a tape drive, which I'll tell you about in a little bit. But we just need to get into the basic history. So, this has an older style of drive called, I think they're either SATA, IDE, or, oh no, these are SCSI drives. So these aren't even like a regular, I don't know if I have an example, like the drives that look like this connector, like the old school, or the modern school with the SATA. This is even older than that. This is called SCSI. 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 So basically, what's the point of that, right? Servers exclusively use these. I'm not sure exactly why. I could look more into that later and let you guys know. But basically, these are server-grade drives. Home computers do not use SCSI drives. And they don't even use them in servers anymore. It's an outdated server technology. But why would they do this? What's the importance? Well, if you look at this ribbon cable, they call them ribbons because it looks like a ribbon. You see that? Like you put like a present. You can zoom in now, Matt, and show them. This is what a SCSI connector looks like. This is not what it doesn't look like an IDE connector. You see how it's a similar format, but it's not the same thing. So it goes to this card right here. Matt, ask a $1 million question. What does this card do?
What does that card do, Mike?
Exactly. So this card makes it so they call it a RAID controller, which stands for redundant array of independent disks or devices or something like that. So what does that stand for? That basically means each of these disks, these hard disk drives or disks, are each. And then I know this is going to be a more techie video, so if you have any questions, ask in the comments. I'd be glad to answer them for you. But basically, these are your disks, and they're all independent of each other. Or they could be, but in this case, they could be or they could not be. So basically, I'm not going to get into what all this does, but you can either set this for performance by putting the Windows installed over 3 of the drives instead of just 1. Or, like part 1 of 3 is on here, part 2 of 3 is on here, and part 3 of 3 is on here. Makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like a pie. Or like a fraction.
Just love pies.
Yeah, apple pie is good.
Just loves it.
Anyway, so you make me lose my train of thought, Matt. Come on. All right, so or you can do it where they're mirrors of each other. You know what a mirror is? You look in the reflection, you see yourself. Same thing.
Right.
So Windows installed on here. Then this card, it goes back to this card, and this card says, "Okay, I need to copy it to here and here." Oh no, drive 1 died. Don't worry, 2 and 3 are here to back it up. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Reliability.
Right.
Even the memory in this thing is not regular memory that you see, like this RAM stick right here. This looks like a normal RAM stick, like a really old normal RAM stick. It's only 512 megabytes.
Mm-hmm.
The minimum for Windows 11 is 4 gigabytes.
Right.
Which is a couple thousand megabytes. I'm not sure exactly, but this is very outdated. But basically, this is not meant to be high performance gaming. This is meant to be reliability. So this is called ECC memory, or error correcting and checking memory, or something like that. But basically what it does, I don't know what the ECC stand for, alright? I don't know all the acronyms in the world. But what I can tell you is, this is made for redundancy. So, if there's an issue with the memory, on a normal computer, it can cause the computer to crash, blue screen. You've seen hardware blue screens all the time. Like where you're on your computer and it blue screens. This is made to run reliably. So, this RAM will fix itself. That's the best way to easily explain it. It's a pretty complex thing. Basically, if it reads 1, and then, like, if it sends 1, and then it receives 2 back or whatever, it'll crash normally. But in this case, it'll actually fix itself, if that makes any sense.
Right.
So it'll read 1 and send 1. Like, I was reading about it the other day, because I was doing more research on the server before I did this video, and, that's the best way I can explain it. It basically corrects itself prior to causing a shutdown or a blue screen or anything like that. So this machine's very good. Oh, and you also have a couple other drives up front here. You have a lot of you have 2 expansion ports and a floppy drive. So floppy drive, just for compatibility's sake, in 2003 they were still using floppy drives. It's not the 90s. And then these were tape drives. So this is actually like a cassette tape or VHS tape. But it's for data backup. So it's like old, in the 80s you never heard of like how they had like tape backup drives? That's what this is. Pardon me, I have hiccups. And then this is a DVD and CD drive. Okay, so now that we have all that established, we'll get to the next part of the video. See you soon. Our history lesson's over on this ancient, heavy, it's probably 25, 30 pounds at least. I mean, it's a heavy machine, but it's very, I like the way these are built. Very solid. Basically, that's what differentiates this from just a regular computer. And it has a lot of expansion card ports as well, which you probably saw those green and white lines that went like that, going down. So what does it have on it currently? So it came by default with Windows Server. We do have one more history lesson. Sorry, guys. Windows Server Standard 2003. So Mike, what is the difference between a server and a regular, just like Windows XP? This is the server equivalent of Windows XP. What's the difference? This operating system is just like Windows XP. It's very similar in style when you use it, and I'll show you shortly. But the difference is, it's made for the server tasks. So it has additional softwares and other, basically just softwares that do the same thing as Windows could, but with all those extra like add-in cards that you saw in there. Like this tape drive has a card to control it too. You saw underneath that little blue and black cable. So, and I'll show you that as we disconnect everything later. Oh, sneak peek. Basically, we're going to turn this on now. Warning, if you need to turn your volume down, this is loud. These are very loud because they need to blow constant air to keep them reliable. This one's not the loudest I've heard, though. Rack mount ones that are like skinny and they go back a ways are very loud.
So the kids today, Mike, they would say, "Wow, what's wrong with that air filtration system?
It's broken." No, they would say
Something's wrong with
say
this.
Your fans are broken, right? So you can show on the screen.
Yeah, nothing against.
So you can see the age of this thing already,
no.
and it's got a single core processor.
Right.
They're up to like 8 cores now. Cores are basically how many sections it has of itself, right? If that's a good way to explain it in simple terms. So basically, it's going to load, and then it'll hopefully boot off of those hard drives that are already in there. It does boot, but it does have passwords, so we're not going to use what's already on there. We're going to modernize this the best we can. Because I want to do a scenario. Here's what I've been planning. You could, while this is loading, you could bring this back to me. Here's what I've been planning, guys. You want to tilt it towards me? There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, am I in this shot?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I forgot how wide lens that thing is. I gotta leave the cameraman to his job. Sorry. My goal here is, what can we do with this in the modern age? Can we bring it to the modern age with supported software? Can we put it on modern Windows? No. The most you can probably do is Windows 7 with such low specs. But what could you do with it? Well, so we know about... So, most people know... I'm going to turn this off for a second because I think it needs to be turned off. But most people know about... I need to figure out why it's not booting up to that old operating system. But most people know about Windows 11, Windows 10, Windows 7, etc. Windows 8, which was terrible. But Windows Vista, which was also debatably good or bad. And then Windows XP. People know about Mac OS too, right? You're using your MacBook, using your iOS device with a little phone, or your Android phone. Well, those are all things we call operating systems. It's what your computer operates on. It's what allows you to use the computer versus just typing in command line like an IBM computer from the 80s, like a Commodore. Or a Commodore. Matt loves Commodores. But, he really does.
Mike's got jokes, man.
Yeah.
Matt is diplomatic, neutral, and loves all computers.
Yes, okay. So, basically, what I was trying to get to about that, what's the point I was trying to make, is there's another alternative. You may have heard it. It has like a penguin logo. It's called Linux.
Yes.
So, and I think it may have even existed before Windows, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
It's been around for a very long time, but there's this thing, it's like flavors of ice cream, but they call them distributions, or distros. So there's a lot of Linux flavors based off of... So you know how vanilla ice... You know how, like, strawberry ice cream is based off vanilla at some point? Or Tahiti vanilla is still based off vanilla ice cream. The vanilla ice cream in this case is called Debian Linux. Everything's built off of it. So it's like a big tree, like a family tree. You have the one main guy at the top, like King George II or whatever.
Right.
You know, then it goes down. So we get to a thing called anti-X. So that's a flavor upon a flavor upon a flavor of this Linux distribution tree.
Right.
Basically, it's one of the only... So basically, before we go into that, this is still only a 32-bit processor. Modern processors are 64-bit. You don't have to know what that means. If you ever ran a program like an executable and it says x86 or x64, this is x86. If you've ever seen that when you're installing like Google Chrome.
Yes, actually I have, yes.
Yes.
Yes, I've seen
That's what that means. It's talking about processor support. This is such an old processor, it will physically, even if I upgrade the RAM in this to be decent enough to run like 2 gigs of RAM, at least to run Windows 10, the processor could not handle it, and it's not worth upgrading since it's such an old computer. And you're limited by a lot of other factors with upgrading that, so it's not worth it. So we need to find something that's going to run on this modernly and make this a usable, basic desktop for basic use. If you're on a real budget, you get a cheap server, $35, and you want to make this work. You can bring it to us, we could do it for you, but this is just a brainstorm and to mess around a little bit. We don't need to do that, obviously. We can do a lot better deals with other computers, but for the sake of argument, could we make this computer come to the modern age, even maybe possibly web browse? I highly doubt it, but I am willing to try and spend some time. This is going to be a long-form video, but we're going to try to get this extremely old, heavy monster of a DELL to load anti-X Linux.
So can he do it, guys? Stay tuned.
It's one of the only last supported Linux distributions that can run on this processor that's still up to date to this day and for the next couple of years. They call it long-term service, or LTC, or LTS, my bad. LTCS, or I don't know, LTS distribution of Linux, or distro of Linux, or ice cream flavor of Linux. It's not actually called that, but that's just make it a little bit simpler for you guys. Because I know you guys are not as technically nerdy as I am, but you still like to learn a new thing or two.
Take it easy on us, Mike.
You're not as much of a nerd as me. That's a good thing and a bad thing, depending on which way you look at it. But I like being a nerd, but some people don't, so whatever. But the point is, we want to get running today. So how do we do that? Well, first, we'll be right back, and I'll show you how. Alright, guys, so it finally loaded up. We had to wait a few minutes because it's been off for a while. So first, we need to run the setup utility because it lost its power to it. Oh, no! It actually has the time correct. It is October 3rd, but it's not 23 hours. It's 9, 10, 9... So 9 plus 12 would be 21. So it'd be 21, 26. So, because that's the time in military. Computers use military time. Isn't that weird? You guys you never know that. You see, we have ECC DDR. We're up to DDR5 now, so that's very old. It's a standard of memory. If you don't know what that means, that's basically what it is. So OS install mode. I wonder what that's for. That's interesting. It's off or on, basically. So we'll have to look at that. This is our CPU information, if you guys are curious. And then it has all these other. And here's our PERC 4/SC controller, which controls those 3 SCSI drives. It's basically that little board that controls everything. So now we have all this set up, and there's your processor, Pentium 4, very old, but cool and still reliable apparently. I didn't do anything to this computer, it just runs great. So we're going to save changes and exit, and then we're going to boot to the original operating system so that we can show you what it's dealing with and how we can improve it. So while this loads, we're gonna go do something. We're gonna go explain something else. So come back here for a second. So I was reading on the Anti-X distribution website. They have their own website here. It's antixlinux.com. Can you see the screen here? So basically, it says right here, it's available in 64-bit. So this is a good explanation of what I said earlier, which is computers built in the last 10 years, modern computers. It's also available for 32-bit, which is very old computers or newer machines with software that no longer supports 32-bit versions. So it's for compatibility's sake or for older machines to be compatible. So what is it? So we're going to download it basically. So what we do is we just go to the. So there's different versions here. So I'm going to read about this real quick. It has 2 possible initial systems. The sysvinit, which I don't know what that means. Default option, or run it. If you don't know or care about init systems, choose the sysvinit. Okay, so basically it's saying if you don't know anything about this, then just choose that. So 23.2 is the latest version. So we're going to go on to the default they're mentioning here. Sometimes you don't have to understand what it means. You just need to understand if they say default, then just use default. And this has a user interface like Windows does, as you can see. It will. So it's going to be full 32-bit. Which is 1.8 gigabytes. It comes with a lot of different softwares, like LibreOffice, which is a free Office suite. So, like the Linux version of Microsoft Office. So, basically, we're going to download this file, which is 1.8 gigabytes. And that will not fit on a CD, but this has a DVD. So, we're going to put it on a DVD drive and do that. So, we'll be right back. So, guys, this is the default operating system. You see it looks a lot like Windows XP. You notice that? It's a server version of Windows XP, as I said. So it's basically just a business-grade version of Windows XP. Even more so than Windows XP Pro or anything like that. And if you guys don't know what Windows XP is, it's the predecessor to Windows 7 and Windows Vista. So you see it even has the original installation here with the DELL logo from the time period. It's very original. So, but I will eventually have to wipe it because it has a password, unless I can find a way around the password. So stay tuned to the end of the video to see if I can find any research on that. But basically, I know I'm very comfortable now. But basically, got my feet up and everything, guys. This is a nice, relaxed environment.
Relaxing job, right? For a change, right?
Not yet.
Never.
It is right now, but it won't be soon when we have to try to install Linux on an ancient server.
Right.
Whose dumb idea was it? Oh, yeah. So, whose dumb idea was this? That's basically, it's just going to load up. It has to load, you see network connections, it tells you it's loading all these different services. Like Active Directory, which if I'm not mistaken is for users of the computer, right?
Yes, that's correct.
The server environment.
Yes, that's correct, yes.
So it is hard drives, so it's not going to be that fast. So this will take about a minute or two and we'll load up. As I said, these are not necessarily performance machines. They can be, depending on their task. This is like an entry-level server, which is still an expensive piece of hardware compared to a regular desktop. The entry level of a desktop market's like a cheap HP, like Pavilion nowadays or something.
Right.
That's like a literal laptop put in a desktop case.
Right.
So it uses like a little power brick, like a laptop. So we'll wait one more minute. If this keeps taking a long time, we'll cut. I'll let you know. It should work shortly. There is no network connection, so eventually it's just going to fail and stop.
Applying computer settings.
Yeah, that's it. This is the last part.
Just changed slightly.
It's not made to turn off, so when it does turn off, it takes a while to boot up, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think the hard drives are failing anything because it loads too good. I just gave it a new button battery, like the little CR2032. So as we see here, my hand. No. So there's some private information here we're going to wipe. We had to cut a previously part of the video. We don't want to expose any company's information. Basically, this is the login page, and then you get logged into a very similar Windows environment. So, cut, and we're going to show you the next part. Alright, so, in order to prepare while the file's downloading for us to install Anti-X, we're going to unplug things that are not necessary and are drawing power. So these hard drives, there's no reason for them to be turned on, as these are SCSI drives. They're very hard to replace. We don't need anything that's going to be hard to replace. We need modern. We need to bring this into the modern day, right? Mm-hmm. So, we're going to unplug all these power rails. We can still leave the data cables, because I would like to keep this just for the historic part of it, but we're going to unplug it so it doesn't try to boot from them, you see? Mm-hmm. So this will just kind of hang out here, and we don't need the tape drive either, so I'll unplug that, but leave the card in place. If it detects the card, that's fine, but it's not going to do anything with it. But an IDE drive would be the next modern thing, which uses these ribbon cables like this. You see that connector? That's a normal IDE connector, if you were curious. Hmm. You see that?
Right.
That connector?
Yeah, yeah.
On camera? Okay. But here's another IDE connector, you see? But, look what it goes to. SATA. What is SATA? Do we remember from a couple of our other videos?
Oh, man.
It's one of the more modern hard drive standards.
Right.
See these guys?
Yes.
That's parallel ATA. This is serial ATA. I'm not going to explain what the difference is. It doesn't matter. It's more modern. That's all you need to know.
Right.
So this is a little adapter board, but it needs power. But the problem is these little power... This is a kit. It comes like this. eBay, whatever. So basically, this is our little connector that adapts the power, but unfortunately it's all wobbly. So I'm going to have this one hold it, because I don't like to really plug it in while it's wobbly like that. So what we're going to do is... Ow. We're going to push these as far forward as we can, and then we're going to stick some hot glue in the holes, and the hot glue will actually help to stiffen these connectors. And don't worry, I did this a lot of times, and it always works great. It's just really good for helping to... Because these are kind of cheapy connectors. With the hot glue, it kind of helps to solidify it. You see how like these wires and these original ones in the power supply are very firm? You see how like very firm connectors. Like this is a very... Ow. Hot glue got me. This is a very firm connection. Wow. Yeah, it's a very smooth transition, Michael. Thanks. But Oh, it's all over me now. Alright, hot glue's messy, and it can burn you. But the point is, it's very good for solidifying and connections and cables. It's a very good reinforcement of connections as well. I've used it in a lot of vintage computers that I do. So now that before that sets, we're going to use this connector here as a template for where the holes should be lining up, if that makes sense. Those little pins in there. Yeah, these cheap connectors are very hard to plug in, so that is a downside to it, unfortunately. So you got to kind of line up, make sure you're actually not breaking the pins, because that is pretty easy on these. So if we look here now, there should be no wires sticking out. No, there isn't. So I'm just going to peel off all the extra hot glue. 1 second. And then I'm going to put some more because I squeezed out a little bit of it while I was plugging it in. Ideally, if you can get it to plug in first, that's great. But if you put the glue in there, it'll help you plug it in. And help solidify these wires from getting pushed out. Because this connector is so cheaply made that it may... And they're just a bad design. That's why they don't use them anymore in many applications. That makes sense. So now that we have this all gooped up, we'll let this cure for a second. Get all the strings off it. I'm just showing you guys a little behind the scenes here. I didn't have to video record this part, but I thought it'd be interesting. Because you'll see now it's going to be a lot. Like, you see how these aren't even attempting to fall out? This is a quality connector. This is not, but for what we need, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Okay, so we need our data. So basically, we got to read here. It says IDE to SATA hard drive. So it's this connector. So our SATA cable goes here. Look how much simpler this is. That's it. Simple. Then you plug in our power here to power this little board. And in theory, on a lot of old computers, this works where you can just boot off of this. Though I'm not sure if it will work in this case. We'll need to find out. So let me just... Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I'm plugging it into the board right now. And it'll click in on this style board. Of course, this has more expansion slots. It's actually, we're gonna plug it into the... Which one's the primary? Oh, so this is the primary right here. Perfect. So this is for if you want to just put a regular IDE hard drive in it, which was regular at the time, but now they're getting rare, so I want to put something that's more standardized in here. So now we have it clipped in. It should help to hold it in. And then normally I would actually hot glue it, because you could always peel the hot glue off later if you don't want to use it. You see how nice of a connection that is now? These cables are very tight, just like these are, you see?
Right.
It helps it. And hot glue didn't melt the cables or hurt the cables. If anything, it's actually preserving it. So now I'm just going to mold it a little bit. Get rid of, make it look like clean, you know? I did a little too much. I don't normally do this much, but if you look at my eBay builds or things like that. But yes, we do this on eBay computers because it helps with their shipment so things don't come loose. I mean, if you look in computers for years, they've been using hot glue and other types of like a white glue or things like that. So this is nothing new.
Right.
Alright, so we can still leave the floppy and the DVD drive. I think Linux should support that. So now we give this data. But wait, Michael, how are we going to power this hard drive? Great question. So let me just go see. I should have an adapter to adapt this. Stay right there. To adapt this. Let's see. Yes, I do. So now we have an adapter from Molex to SATA.
Very nice.
So when you bring a computer that's old into the modern age, you just got to make sure that everything lines up. And if this is a good connector like this one is, I said like this one is, no, it's not a good connector. So now we got to hot glue this one as well. You see how like transparent and cheapy this looks in comparison?
Right.
You can like hear it like rattling around. These connections will like fall out. That's the problem, and I don't want that to happen. So just apply a liberal amount of hot glue to each of the ports. Okay, so now we let that cure for a minute, trying to line these pins up as straight as we can. You see we want them to line up straight. Because basically these little cables were pushed in. If the plastic is cheap, it'll get pushed right back out. In this case, these won't, but this will because it's a cheaper adapter, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad adapter. It's just something you need to be aware of. Especially when you're building things at a budget level like this, you want to use whatever comes with the kit. So we're just going to plug this into I'm going to let it cure for a minute. And it looks like our file has downloaded, so while that works, while that cooks, so to speak, we will look for a DVD drive. I mean, a DVD disc. Berkeley and Jensen. Ooh, fancy. This is the slow part of the video, I know, guys, I'm sorry. This is the initial setup. So we don't have to record all this, we'll come back when we have all this set up, alright?
Alright.
Just want to give you guys I know it's getting a little boring, so we'll cut it and then we'll see you guys soon.
Alright, sounds good.
Action! Alright, so, I got this adapter here. We're going to put the SSD in it. I had to wake myself up a little bit, guys, I know. So we're going to screw this in to the SSD. It's a 3D printed adapter that we made. Pretty much this is going to allow us to properly mount this without having to use double-sided tape. The advantage of double-sided tape is it's easy to install and you don't have to 3D print anything. But I had this laying around. This goes from SSD to like a DVD drive size, which is 5 1/4. Which I know there's a quiz later. I know you guys are gonna remember that size, right? Are ya? Come on!
Man, we start this one off with the word action, and now we're just jumping in, guys. Get ready.
Rising through the uprights or something.
Right through the uprights.
I don't even know what that means. That's Matt's quote. Quoting Matt there. That's his favorite line. I don't know if it's from like Gladiator or something.
So what Mike's doing right now, you're doing
adapting it so it'll sit nicely.
Your custom adapter, right, that you did from your 3D printer.
Yes, it was a free model online. You can go to like Thingiverse or places like that, and they have free models.
Cool.
I'm not afraid to say I didn't make it. I may have to adapt it if I need to add a hole or something to it to make it. Oh, I bumped the RAM, so let me just make sure.
This is the best step in modernizing this server.
Yes, this will make this as fast as it possibly can by giving it a drive that's way faster than what it's meant for. So then it'll have to get a little faster. Hopefully.
Right.
I like how I did the dramatic pause and stared at you. Okay. PC screws. I added a couple in here. I know. Where's my screwdriver? Think fast! Alright. Anyway. Gotta make this more entertaining, so let's see. Alright, so I'm gonna screw this in. So we're just gonna screw this in. It doesn't need all 4 screws, plus that side doesn't come off, so we're fine. Look for the holes. It didn't even screw in, that's weird. Let me take a look. Come up onto the sidewalk here and have a look. Wait, no, that's a David Lee Roth song. I wonder what David Lee Roth's doing today. Probably sleeping. He deserves it. He's a good rock frontman. Anyway. Alright, so that's not thick enough. We need something with really aggressive screw. Yeah, that's it. Right there. That'll do it. It needs to be like really thick, aggressive threads on it. 1 second while I line this up, guys. Yeah, and ask me some questions in the comments. I know this is a pretty new subject for us at Immortech Solutions when it comes to discussing. So I guess only one hole lines up. That's interesting. Wow, great adapter I found online, yeah. That's funny, right? Yeah, the holes don't line up at all. Oh wait, they no. You only can do one or the other. I guess I'll do the back one then. Oh yeah, the SSD doesn't move anyway.
Yeah,
one screw's plenty.
That's not gonna, yeah.
It's not going anywhere, and it's doing its job. That's all that matters.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So now we got power to everything, and we disconnected what we don't need. We're gonna come over here, and we're gonna make sure that we have a DVD drive, as we discussed, or DVD disc, as we discussed earlier. So we're gonna plug in our DVD to our disk drive here, and we're gonna use something called Power ISO, which will write the image of the operating system to the DVD drive. So we'll be right back. Alright guys, so just like Windows XP installations, we need an installation disk. This has a DVD drive. So in theory, if that works, the other thing works. And then insert the meme with the mathematical formulas going around, right? So basically we need to select our file, anti-X, you see that? Open, and we're going to burn it through there. And then we're going to say verify it. So it's going to make sure that it burns the disk. We're using Power ISO. Then we're going to make sure that when it burns, you see, look at the flames! The fire! Gives a bite, it says, fire! Alright, so we'll let that load. You can actually hear the disk spinning up. And then we'll try to install the operating system.
Alright. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how a server talks. Talking to Mike.
I don't think it likes that. Hey, the Windows, the Linux installation is done.
We are in.
Shush!
We are in the midst of chaos. Can Mike fix it? Can
Is that alive?
Can he get us out of this conundrum?
Just heard that beeping segment. Basically, I think it's complaining that it can't detect the drives because I unplugged them. But I guess what I could do instead of unplugging them is just telling it, "Hey, don't look for it," in the BIOS, basically saying not to boot from it.
Right.
So I guess I have to plug it back in. So I guess I'm gonna leave these legacy devices plugged in, or not to fully remove it. And I don't want to remove it and just separate it from its machine. If that makes any sense.
Right.
So we're gonna turn this back on, and hopefully it doesn't scream at me again. Dude, that was so loud. Oh
Yeah,
my
it really,
God.
really was. I mean,
Well, why is it loud, Matt? You know why?
no, please explain it to us.
I bet you it's trying to warn that your drives are considered failing because they're not showing up, and that's in an ideal situation. This is meant to always monitor. So that's, as you said, that's how the server talks.
Exactly.
It's
right.
saying, "Where's my drives? Something's wrong! Help! SOS!"
I know. Trust me. If there's one thing I know as a professional,
SOS.
you know.
Oh, that's probably gonna be our thumbnail.
Yeah.
SOS.
Server talks to Michael. Server screams. Server screams at Michael.
All right.
All right. All right. Well, there's no beeping right off the bat, so that's a good
Well,
sign.
no, it's all right. So we'll get back to you in a second. We're gonna go into the BIOS, which is the F2 menu, the setup utility, and we're gonna mess with it some more. This is gonna take a while to load. So
Okay. All right.
cut. So that card that controls those really old hard drives was yelling, as you guys heard earlier. Basically, we had to initialize it and then figure out the RAID array and basically go configure and then view the configuration, and then it'll show, it scans everything, and then it says, here's your 3 drives, which are all Fujitsu whatever drives, which is 34,000 megabytes, which is like what, 3 gigs or whatever, 4 gigs. I don't know what that translates to, but I can look it up if you guys are that particular. But the boot drive is 0. But we don't want this to boot off of this anymore, so we're gonna have to go back. So now we got this to stop beeping. We actually have this check the consistency between them. So basically, currently they are configured to it'll scan and it'll tell you the configuration. RAID channel 0, which I think is RAID 0 is, which one is it? Do you remember?
Honestly, I don't.
It doesn't matter though. We got to stop beeping and it's happy now. Okay.
Right.
Please reboot your system. So did I just reset button? So now hopefully it'll stop beeping. Then I could tell the computer to boot only from the DVD drive. So we have our DVD here. Anti-X, see? Berkeley and Jensen DVD. Funny, right? And now a DVD drive won't turn on, so now we gotta figure that out. See, a lot of old computers, you got a lot to figure out here. So we'll be right back. We're back, so we're in the BIOS now, or the main settings of the computer before you get to Windows or Linux or whatever you have. So we're going to do space to turn that on. We're going to do OS install mode on. We're going to enable our primary drive. Hopefully it'll detect our SSD. Then there is no tertiary drive. At least I don't think so, so we're just going to off that. Boot sequence. So good, that's not showing anymore. Hard disk drive C should be what I'm... Yeah, so this one we're going to disable. Can we disable it, or I guess we can't. So that perk slot, hopefully this won't boot from this. And we can just go to the system boot devices, which is that. In boot sequence, I'd like to add... I believe this can go to boot from a DVD. We'll have to double check that though. See? Oh, is DVD not even enabled? I think it's plugged into, yeah, I gotta go look in here. 1 second. Let's see what's plugged into. So, third IDE. Okay. So tertiary drive 0, apparently. No wonder it wasn't detecting it earlier. We had to put a new DVD drive because it was failing. So auto. So now that all that's set up, let's see what we could do. So we're going to go escape, save changes and exit, let it reboot, and see if it detects our devices, and we'll be right back.
Alright.
So as you guys see, before it had nothing here. Now it shows hard drive, which is 60 gigabytes, or 60,000 megabytes, which that's how they translate. It's like inches to feet. And then CD-ROM reader. Before it kept saying tertiary drive 0 not found. I don't know if you guys remember that or not. Basically that means your third drive plugged into this board is not found. So we replaced the DVD drive. You see how it's not really actually sitting in there? I didn't screw it down yet because I was testing it. But it matches the color scheme of this and it's the right age for this machine. But if you look here, it's a Samsung. Samsung makes great stuff, so hopefully that'll work out. Alright, now we're going to go to our boot sequence, and CD-ROM device should be the first one. So we're going to go plus to bring it up. Oh, you can actually disable things as well. So we don't want to boot from the floppy, and we want to move this up. So I think we got to move this one down. Nope. 1 second. Unless we just disable the hard drive for now and just boot from the CD drive. And then we'll... But everything's running a lot smoother. I think that disk drive was failing. So we'll be back in a second and we'll see if it boots. If you guys see here, it booted from the DVD drive. So we got this thing working on its own without messing with anything that was already existent, but adding more. And it recognizes our SSD, which is a new format compared to the old format. So we click here, we're going to click full, enter. So now it's going to load it. And this should be a pretty quick boot / installation. So if you guys stay with us for a second, we'll see how quickly this goes. Oh yeah. And you can do all F1, you can see the boot process. I'd like to see that. I'm a nerd. Maybe not. We'll just give it a second. I think it's reading. Yeah. The indicator light's burnt, but I think it's doing it. So we'll be back in a minute.
Alright guys, so we're back here. Mike is vigorously coding on this server to get it to... I wouldn't say it's malfunctioning. Install.
It needs a lot of workarounds because it's so old.
Right, so he is...
Right now it's almost booting, but it's having issues with the monitor, so I'm trying to set the resolution of the monitor. Or the, 1080p, whatever.
Right, he's
HD.
Trying to bring it up to today's standards, so as soon as he's done with this, we'll bring you back. Alright, good job, man.
Delay, guys, so we're back. Yeah, unfortunately, Linux did not work. As much as we think that lightweight Linux distribution or flavor would work, in this case it wouldn't because the graphics on this computer is too old to support modern Linux. So, we have to think outside the box to make this computer run on the internet, which is going to be an amazing feat if I can get it done. So if you look right here, we installed Windows XP, but unfortunately the problem that occurred is that it would not boot and show us the video. So we're still having video issues even with XP, but it could be that we need to install the drivers manually, which is very normal with XP. And what is a driver, just in case you're wondering, is what controls the different components of your computer. Your video, your hard drive, all these things are controlled by drivers, everything. Your keyboard, your mouse, everything that's plugged into this computer has a driver or a piece of software attached to it to communicate between the hardware of the computer and the software of the computer. Okay, so now we established that, we're going to work on getting this working and I'll come right back. Okay guys, so after this long-winded attempt, let's keep in mind what our objective is here. To make this run a web browser and do some other fun tasks. So XP is the best suited operating system for it because it's the most similar to Windows Server 2003. Because XP came out in, 2003 or whatever. So if you show them, after fighting with XP for the last hour, I finally got the correct graphics drivers, not the ones that came with Windows, but one that will work. So, but Michael, that's an old operating system. How are we going to get that to run? Well, we get to get a ton of drivers on it, so we'll do that off camera so we don't bore the hell out of you guys. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to find a web browser that's still supported on XP. Introducing MyPal. MyPal. The perfect browser for Windows XP, supposedly. I've never used it, we're about to find out. And then me and Matt thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool to play some vintage gaming on this server, because let's think about it for a minute. This is an old server. It was destined for e-waste, most likely, because most people aren't going to use a 20-year-old server as a file or print server, as we discussed earlier in this video. And Windows is a lot better than Linux for compatibility with old software, as they didn't make much old Linux software on, at least I don't think so, on disks like they did for Windows, like games and things like that. But the problem is, there's no audio card on this thing. How are we going to do that? We're going to see if I have a PCI, because it has expansion slots. We're going to see if we can add audio to this beast. Stay tuned. Alright guys, so something that comes to a surprise to nobody, this is not a gaming computer, even with the oldest of games. There are some other things I could do to it to make it possibly run. It does run, but it's very laggy with that game, so we're not going to do that. I turned it off just so we could talk for a minute. So, at the end of the day, we went through all these different avenues between trying to get Linux to flavor on it, or trying to make it run a game, you know? But at the end of the day, you know what this computer is perfect for? Basic tasks. So I did what's unthinkable in 2025. I made a Windows XP installed server with only 512 megabytes of RAM, which is no amount of RAM, run on a web browser. I'd love to show you guys. This is the conclusion of the video. And I also got it in Office Suite by Apache OpenOffice, which I'll show you guys right now. And we installed a solid state drive in this to make it fast. And off camera we also installed a new DVD drive. So this computer is going to be, nobody's going to want this obviously, but for the testing sake and entertainment's sake, we fully determined that this computer can now be used. So if you want to show them the screen, get them coming straight, probably better for your angle. So it's going to boot up. And it's got decent boot speed now. Obviously it doesn't have audio because it's a server. They never came with audio. I can add audio. But yeah, you guys let me know in the comments. If we get like 100 likes on this video, I'll put some money into it. I'll put better graphics. We could try to run a game on it. It's up to you guys, whatever you want to do with it.
Yeah, so this is the graphics card.
Audio.
No, this is the audio card that we used, and then the...
So that did work, yes.
The, unfortunately, this game did not work, but...
Very laggy.
We will try to give it justice in the future. We just have a lot of stuff going on now at Amortitech. And we keep stuff honest, mature, and real here on the channel.
So there we go. Pretty fast boot. And as you guys are about to see, we can do web browsing on it. It's only wired internet, of course, though I think you could add a Wi-Fi adapter for this. So first you can go to My Pal, which I was telling you guys about. It has a raccoon on it for some reason. Oh, we have no antivirus. So yeah, don't do anything personal like your banking on a computer like this that's not supported with security. And it's going to be a little bit laggy, but we can go to google.com. And this is one of the last Windows XP supported browsers. It doesn't run YouTube, so it is getting a little bit dated, but I could still go to like wikipedia.org and search.
Very cool, man.
And it's decently snapped for
wow.
For a 22-year-old server in 2025.
Wow, that's pretty fast. Look at that, right?
Yep.
So if we did have the right graphics card,
it's still a single core Pentium 4. So.
Oh, okay. So really, it's the processor we're talking about.
Supposedly, you could use this to run a local Battlefield 1942 server.
Oh, good.
So this could host Battlefield 1942 for others to play on. I don't know if it has enough specifications, but that's what they claim.
Interesting.
So you see, this runs great.
Yeah.
So we took an abandoned server, outdated, forgotten server, and we put some amazing programs on it and made it run great for our usage.
Definitely.
So now this could be used as a normal system for basic tasks. Obviously, we're not going to tell it any of that information, so we're just going to go... So this is made by Apache, and this is called OpenOffice. And look at this, text document. It's an older version, obviously, but you don't throw away your old technology. Use it for something. Like, hello, this is Michael from Morta Tech Solutions.
And guys, there's always room to upgrade.
And yes, if you guys ever want to see more done with this server, this unique piece of IT equipment, let us know. So, thank you for watching Morta Tech Solutions. And on this episode, we saved this server. What can we do next? Stay tuned to find out. See ya.